All right, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, June 30th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Seriously, subscribe. I'm watching. Okay, anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here. Obviously doing this video a little earlier than normal. It's Friday. I know everybody wants to get the holiday started here, so... And basically, I'm not sure. I'll probably put a video out Monday and Tuesday, but I'll probably do something more kind of might do some like trade reviews or educational stuff just so that I can feed the algorithm a little bit. But either way, just because Monday is probably going to be a nothing burger. But either way, today gap and go, and then nice little pop. We got really, and I mean really stretched here. Take a look at some of these indicators. Look at the Bollinger Bands on the hourly, way outside of that. Hourly RSI way overbought here. Even the 4-hour bigger time frames way overbought there. And then we had a little bit of a micro pullback into the kind of mid to lunch hour, and then just another kind of float up here in the afternoon here. There may be a little bit of rebalancing, so you might see some weirdness. Look at stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, some of those kind of high flyers. You may see some forced buying, forced selling, stuff like that. That is totally normal for quarter, end of quarter. So either way, markets having a nice gap and go day. My guess is as short-term overbought as we are, Monday's a half day. They'll probably cool everything off Monday. So we could see like a micro gap down and then just a pin sideways Monday to kind of reset those technicals. But right now, market's holding up and it's got a nice bid here and, basically into that double top. We'll see how it, trades up here. That fake print from the other day is still up there at on the weekly. So it's all the way up to 453. That is still in play. Monthly close here. Again, it's showing up on the monthly as well, but you're above this trend line here. Obviously, you are going into a little bit of resistance here, but markets have held up, so we got to give them the upside bias as long as volume is light. But right now, market's hanging in there. We talked about this. If we were to come up and make a lower high, then you'd watch this low. Obviously, that's not been the case, but we are in a double top, so maybe it needs to stall out a little bit here. What's notable though is the Qs are kind of lagging here for the first time, and it's not lagging the Russell, it's not lagging the Dow. You see those there, it's just lagging the spiders. So really banks, but specifically not so much regionals. But XLF getting a nice bid here today, up 1.2, going to close the week above its 200 moving average, so that looks a lot better. And it looks like they're going to be able to recapture that 50-week moving average. We talked about that. That is important. Still in kind of a weekly bear flag look, though, so I'm not convinced that these financials are out of the water or out of the woods here. JP Morgan is the only one I would really consider owning here. I like that you had a down move here, bear flag, and then you reversed that, and now you got 52-week highs. So JPM is strong. That's really the only one I would consider owning right now. But you look at the KRE again, I just don't think these are out of the woods, and the charts are saying that, right? You got a massive gap and go day. Spiders are up 1 1/3. Qs are up 1.7. Pretty much broad-based rally here. XLE, XLF, everything. Even big banks, regular financials are up nicely. KRE, gap and crap. That's not a good candle there. I'm not convinced that these are out of the water. Yellen talked about this last week, so there's probably going to need to be more consolidation in the sector. Looks like it. So that's really kind of a weak sector there. And obviously that is, putting a drag on the IWM. So even though the IWM is green today, that's going to be a problem here for Russell moving forward. Still can get to 192, so we'll give it the upside bias to that level. So no real problems here, and you see the spiders starting to float up here. I wonder if we will get a little bit of a dump into the close potentially with rebalancing. Apple, by the way, $3 trillion market cap now again, and that hit my target. So you have this big inverse head and shoulder. You can see it on the weekly. Shoulder, head, left shoulder, or right shoulder rather, and then right up into that area. Of course, you're getting a little bit of a pierce. So Apple, this is really getting long in the tooth here. But either way, it's holding up, so you got to respect it here. And it is a hot stock right now. And again, as long as Apple is up, market's generally going to be holding up. Tesla holding up as well. So again, we'll see what we get going into now. Generally, especially we're talking about next week, 4th of July, seasonally. Usually you get kind of usually this week, last week of June, is a week full of pressure for the market. Then you kind of get that bid into 4th of July. I'm not sure how that's going to work out next week. I would assume Monday will probably stall. We maybe even stall out a little bit after that. But then, markets right now, they're hanging in there. We'll see if that fake print can play out. But it's interesting to me how tech now is starting to cool off, despite like Tesla, Nvidia, and Apple being up nicely today. And, they are still up. Qs are still up, but not taking out that high. And again, I know that there's a skew there, but if you look at the NDX, that isn't taking out the high, whereas the SPX has, and the ES for that matter, now making double top. Well, anyways, again, Monday will be a slow day. Let's not make too much out of anything that happens there. We'll see what happens. I may do a video, may just do kind of a training video or an educational video there. But either way, markets are holding up. We'll watch and see if we can confirm above this pivot here on the spiders. And then if you can, you can work your way up to that 450 handle, possibly the 453 fake print. Over to the Qs, again, same thing. You'd be looking for confirmation above this pivot here, preferably a weekly close, and then that can go higher. So really simple there. Russell 2000 still has upside to 192, and that's it for now. Dow here, again, same thing, double top. You get through that, then it's up to this bigger double top around 348. Semiconductors holding up 1.87%. Nice bid there. We talked about AMD, how it was a little bit softer. That's got, came out of that range a little bit. So nice pop there for AMD. Nothing terrible there. It's in an uptrend, and you got kind of out of that kind of bear flag look. Still has some work to do. You'll have some resistance around 115, 116, but that's got a nice bid here, and we'll respect it for now. IGV also getting a bid, again, curling into that 20, just like everything else, and getting a nice bid. I thought that, you might get another kind of, micro leg down here, just because that 20 MA, it feels to me like everybody wanted to buy that, but, sometimes that is what it is. And then there's the IGV doing the same thing again. Essentially, we'll have some resistance around 350 in the short term. Dow Transport's here, a little bit of a hanging man there, so that may need to do some stalling out. But again, we talked about 15.5 area. It got there today, obviously 15.581, and it pulled back pretty good intraday, and then rallied back up, but it is leaving a little bit of a hanging man there, so that may need to do some backing and filling. You're pretty overbought here, 13.6 to 15.6. In 3.5 weeks. So, pretty extended. You're going into resistance there. Again, we'll go to the 2 year, so I'll show you guys again if you haven't seen it, but that was that failed inside bar. Resistance. It should be resistance again because we're overbought going into it. If we had consolidated, I would say you can go through it, but right now that's just short-term levels there. But Dow Transport's, again, still holding up, but again, putting that little hanger on the charts. All right, let's get over to yields here. If I can find my yields, it's good. All right, there we go. And that's Bitcoin, which is holding up, which we'll get into in a second. But 2 year here, green on the day. We talked about this level, 4.9. It might have to back off of that, but this is cupping up nicely. I don't see any problems here with the yields. Why can the market still rally? Like I said yesterday, it's got to get above 5. Once it gets above 5, that's when you could see some turbulence come into the market here, especially if it happens before the July Fed meeting. That's my take on it. But right now, as long as this is below the Fed funds rate, market likes that, and it can still rally. 5 year inside day, nothing wrong there with that little doji. 10 year, same thing. 30 year, same thing. Although the 30 year is definitely on the weaker side compared to the rest of the yields. But it is still in a nice uptrend, and I would not bet against them right now. All right, XHB, that made a new high again today. So that's up to 80.65, still in a powerhouse uptrend, going into some resistance here. But, it's holding up. There's your pivot. Let's just draw that in right now. We'll see where that does. Right into that pivot there, and then 1, 2, breakdown. Retested it again, so right in this zone, 80 to 81 is kind of your next big level. But housing, XHB specifically, holding up really well. ITB, new all-time high, new all-time closing high. VNQ, gap and crap there. Again, we've known that this is a weak sector, so no surprise there. Pretty good reversal candle there off of the 200. XLF, we talked about, again, this could have upsides to 34.50 and still be kind of in a weekly bear flag motion. So just be aware of that. But it is getting a nice outside bid led by JP Morgan right now, and Berkshire making new highs there as well. So XLF holding up for the time being. We already talked about KRE. Broker dealers up as well, but came decently off the highs. They actually had a nice pop in the morning and came right back in. Still a lower high here. So we'll see. Now you can scout a potential lower high in XBD, but if it takes this out, it's going to 490. So pretty simple for that. Crude here, stuck in a range again, still below this, gets you down to double bottom. If you take that out, you're going lower. You know, on the upside, if you get above 76, then we could talk about it, but don't really see anything to do with crude right now. XLE, nice bid. This just does not want to die, right? So, you know, weekly bearish inside bar for a long time. And we had this trend line that we've just violated so many times here. Still below these moving averages here on the weekly. You see the 50 and 20 there. But it's like it just doesn't want to go down, right? It's trying to close back above that trend line again. And again, it's like this trend line is more of a guideline at this point. It's not, you know, set in stone or concrete here because we've just traded through it so much. But it's just interesting how this does not want to go down right now. Still below those moving averages there, and you still have weekly inside bar bearish consolidation potentially. XOP, nice bid here. That looks better. What I like about XOP is you're going to close above this high, 127.43. We're at 129.36. So that's in better shape now. So XOP looks a lot better. You could also make a case. I know I got a lot of trend lines on here, but you know, you could make a case. There's right in kind of here, right? And you pushed above that. So that is in a little bit better shape. And OIH, you guys already know what I'm going to say. So big move there for OIH. Weekly close, reclaiming trend. Weekly close above 280. Still don't have the inside bar though. So unless we power up in the next 45 or 30, 45 minutes, let's just get that exact 292.82. You know, that's the big level to me, but this is a much more constructive move now for OIH. So I don't know, maybe the oil services and maybe energy stocks are telling us that, you know, crude's gonna reverse that bear pattern. It's possible, can't rule it out, but they're holding up well. Nat gas also holding up well, continuing to rally here. Last 2 days they tried to take it down. Last 3 days they tried to take it down, and you came right back. Nice little bullish inside bar there on the daily. This is looking a lot better here. Higher lows, higher highs. Through $3, it's going to go a lot higher, but right now holding up nicely. I like the consolidation. Dollar index got a big pop earlier, and then came back in pretty sharply to close near the lows again. We said this, you know, it's got work to do. It needs to close above this red bar, need to close above 103, and you couldn't do that. Now, technically, you can make a case it's a little immature, but you have weekly inside bar bearish, you know, on the DXY. You already have daily inside bar bearish, and you have not negated that. So just be aware of that on the DXY. Still on the softer side. Gold, you're getting a bounce. We talked about that, 1900. Is this tradable? Yes. I just don't think this is the best level for gold here. It doesn't mean you can't swing it, but I don't like it right now. I think it's got to go lower. Silver also has to go lower, though it's, you know, not terrible right now, but it's holding up. Platinum here getting a little bit of a bid at 900, so trying to save this kind of pivot low here on a weekly close for now. I still think this wants to go lower, though, after a bounce. Palladium also saving that low as well, but you know, again, not the greatest bounce, little weak kind of a gravestone doji there. We'll see if that can shape up, but not looking good at the current time. And then copper getting a defense of 370. So now we'll look probably to, let's just say 383 to 385. Let's just say 383, okay, for now. And then we'll reevaluate copper. Again, I still think it's going to 340, but short term, it's fine. All right, over to Bitcoin lastly. So we got some news. I almost said Blackstone. BlackRock ETF, basically the SEC came out, said they didn't like it, and we got a pretty good dump. And it was consolidating bullish. It was up this morning pre-market, and then boom, right as the market opened, we got that news came out, but it recovered nicely, right? So I always like when you get bad news and then you sell off, but the dip gets bought. That's always a good sign. Again, like I've said, we're still kind of waiting for this. And you can make a case maybe it needs to go retest this trend line, but we're still waiting for this 20 MA to catch up. But you got a nice inside bar pattern there on the daily. It's there on the weekly too, a little kind of micro, but it's there. And there's no reason why this shouldn't get to 32.5, maybe even a pierce of that. So that looks okay to me right now. A lot of the Bitcoin equities, like I talked about, Coin, Mara, MSTR, they've shaped up a lot better here lately as well. So that seems to be confirming the move a little bit. Ether, for those of you guys who follow Ether, getting a nice pop as well. That can still get to 2,000. So yeah, crypto looking good here, and I don't see any issues right now. All right, back over to the spiders here. So again, we'll watch double top here. Watch the last 30 minutes. There might be some rebalancing. Looks like there's already some forced buying in Apple there. Again, end of quarter stuff. We'll see what happens next week. We'll see if, we have to do any backing and filling. I think Monday will probably be an inside day, and they'll just kind of use it to reset the technicals, and then we'll kind of just go from there. But anyways, guys, gonna wrap it up here. You guys have a great, safe holiday weekend. Thank you guys all for watching. Subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you guys all next week.